This is Yoon-ju, a woman who can remember things like no one else. She is on a bus and following a man. She watches him closely, but she doesn't see James, a smart criminal who is capable of doing high-risk missions while remaining undetected. When the train stops, the man gets off and Yoon-ju follows him. He walks down the street and talks on the phone. He goes into a restaurant, and Yoon-ju follows him. While she's watching him, the man approached her and asks why she was following him from the subway. Just as Yoon-ju is about to respond, the man reveals himself as Chief Detective Hwang. He is specialized in surveilling people to catch criminals and fakers. He doesn't usually arrest criminals, but just follows them to find out more. What Yoon-ju doesn't know is that Chief Hwang is actually testing her to see how well she notices and remembers things, which is part of her job interview. At the same time, James heads to a nearby building to set up an explosion. He wants to rob a bank with his team. He waits until the sunlight reflects on the cameras to get a blind spot. The explosion causes a lot of chaos and distracts the police and firefighters. James is on the roof, telling his team what to do. One of them gets greedy and tries to steal more than they planned, which almost gets them caught. Finally, they finish their mission and quickly drive away while being chased by the police. One of the accomplices is a truck driver who collided his truck with the police cars to help the robbers escape. He manages to get away too. Back at the restaurant, Chief Hwang asks Yoon-ju to tell him everything she saw and remembered. Yoon-ju, who remembers things really well, explains everything from the bus to the restaurant. But then the chief asks about the newspaper he was carrying. Yoon-ju tries hard to remember what happened to it after he put it down, but she just can't recall the memory. Chief Hwang asks Yoon-ju to replay the scenario in her head, and she remembers that a young boy took the newspaper when the chief put it down. He's happy with her answer and offers her the job. Meanwhile, the robbers are dividing the stolen money when James arrives. James beat-ups the greedy man who almost got them caught and sets fire to the van so the police can't find it. James takes his share of the stolen money and goes to see his boss. Back at Chief Hwang's division, they try to find clues about the robbery by looking at CCTV footage, but they can't find anything. The robbers were too good at hiding their identities and carrying out the heist. Meanwhile, James is given a new mission by his boss. He needs to steal important files from an accounting corporation. After a long investigation, Chief Hwang's team finally finds the truck driver at a corner store near the bank, and they start gathering information about him. On Yoon-ju's first day of work, she meets Chief Hwang and their department head, Lee. Everyone in the team has an animal code name, and Yoon-ju wants to be called Reindeer. However, Chief Hwang thinks Piglet would be a better fit for her. Chief Hwang introduces Yoon-ju to the rest of the surveillance team, who all have animal code names such as Sloth, Monkey, Mole, Viper, Parrot, Ostrich, and Squirrel. The team then goes undercover to pursue the truck driver nicknamed Hippo. Chief Hwang keeps track of his team's movements using small-scale maps of different regions in Seoul, and each member goes in their assigned direction, acting like regular people. Chief Hwang coordinates from his van, ensuring that everything runs smoothly. Here, James is preparing for his next mission, which is to steal important accounting files from a company. He likes to plan everything out meticulously, without directly involving himself in the action. Instead, he prefers to watch from various rooftop perches. Meanwhile, Chief Hwang and his team spend weeks wandering the city, trying to find the truck driver. James and his team finish their second mission. As James was putting away his gear on a rooftop, he saw a man taking pictures of him from a nearby building. He was afraid of getting caught, so he went to the building and killed him with a knife. Meanwhile, department head received a call from her boss about a robbery at an accounting firm. She got angry with the chief for not finding any information on the first case and not investigating the second one. One night while being undercover, Yoon-ju sees a group of men harassing a poor family for their money. They threaten to kill the family members. Yoon-ju, who is an officer, can't stand by and watch, so she steps in. She fights off two of the men, but the third one overpowers her. Luckily, Chief Hwang arrives just in time and saves her. However, he scolds Yoon-ju and tells her that as a surveillance officer, it's not their job to directly intervene in a case, even if it means letting people get hurt. Their only responsibility is to observe and follow their targets. Meanwhile, James wishes to quit his line of work, so he refuses to take any mission from his boss. The boss responds by sending a man to kill James, whom he successfully defends against. He then goes back to his boss's place and takes the files for the next mission, furiously claiming that it would be his last. Later, in his apartment, James answers a phone call where he confirms that he's getting a passport to flee the country. While sitting at her desk in the office, Yoon-ju discovers that they have been tracking Hippo in the wrong places. She tells the chief, and they quickly go undercover to search for Hippo. Yoon-ju finds him soon after and begins to tail him, but she gets sidetracked by a crisis in a nearby store. Despite this, she locates Hippo's apartment and informs Chief Wong. He then assigns Squirrel to place hidden cameras outside of Hippo's apartment, which he does successfully. In the next scene, James takes on his last mission, which is to break into the stock exchange's server room and install software on behalf of an unknown broker. He obtains the stock exchange's IP address and shares the plan with his trusted associate. Meanwhile, Chief Wong and his team keep a close eye on Hippo's actions and wait for any leads he might provide regarding the bank robbery case. Department Head Lee contacts Chief Wong and requests that he investigate the crime scene where the photographer was killed by James. Upon arriving at the photographer's apartment, Chief Wong comes to the realization that the photographer was only a liability and was killed for mistakenly intruding on James' second mission. He concludes that James is the leader who oversees his team's work from a rooftop. One evening, Yoon-ju and Chief Wong search through Hippo's trash for any evidence. They come across torn pieces of a Sudoku puzzle, but the numbers are incorrect. Upon examining, the officers realize that the numbers on the Sudoku pieces are actually the IP address for the stock exchange. The next day, the officers tail Hippo and discover that he's meeting with his accomplices to plan their next heist. Squirrel successfully takes pictures of them and hacks their communication devices, identifying all 6 criminals except for their leader, James. Department Head Lee and the rest of the team in the office track James' location through their communication devices, and Chief Wong and Yoon-ju quickly follow him. James eventually reaches the rooftop of a building while his men drive to the stock exchange to carry out the heist. Suddenly, James spots Chief Wong's officers waiting to arrest his men. He quickly calls his men and instructs them to cancel the mission. James then rushes down the stairs where Chief Wong and Yoon-ju are waiting for him. With no other choice, James smashes a window using a fire extinguisher and jumps out, successfully evading the officers. As James manages to escape, his men engage in a fierce gunfight with the police, resulting in 2 deaths and several arrests. Meanwhile, Department Head Lee and the team track down James' phone location and inform Chief Wong and Yoon-ju. The duo tries to catch James but struggles to get a clear view of him. Finally, Yoon-ju gets a closer look at James as he walks through an alley. Squirrel is on the street while being undercover as a traffic police officer. He tries to get James' identification, but James realizes that Squirrel is an undercover officer too. James uses a sharp pen to silently puncture Squirrel's neck. Yoon-ju is devastated after finding Squirrel in blood on the street and tries to get help, but she loses track of James in the process. In the hospital, Chief Wong and Yoon-ju were waiting outside the emergency room when a nurse told them that Squirrel had died due to losing too much blood. Here, James got in trouble with his boss for not doing a good job and failing the mission. He got really angry and went to his boss' hideout, where he killed the boss and his guards. After that, he got a fake Thai passport and prepared to leave South Korea. After their colleague's death, Chief Wong and Yoon-ju were extremely upset. As a result, the chief decided to resign, and Yoon-ju took some time off from work. While doing laundry, Yoon-ju remembered that she had seen James before, on the day of her police interview. She had a photographic memory and remembered him carrying a grocery store brochure as he walked past her on a bus. Yoon-ju rushed to the grocery store, where she spotted James again. She immediately alerted Chief Wong and the other officers and started following James closely. James went into a restaurant and Yoon-ju followed him. When James got his food, he realized that Yoon-ju was following him and confronted her. Yoon-ju acted like everything was fine and denied following him, but she secretly sent a text to Chief Wong. While James was questioning Yoon-ju, he saw Chief Wong come into the restaurant. James quickly realized that Chief Wong was in the restaurant, as he had seen him in a mirror the day before when he was being followed in an alley. He left Yoon-ju and walked out to the parking lot. Chief Wong took over the chase, but James stabbed him from behind and ran away. Chief's injury wasn't life-threatening. Shortly after, Yoon-ju arrived at the scene and the chief told her to continue the pursuit into the subway tunnels. However, James recognized Yoon-ju this time and ended up holding her hostage. Department Head Lee ordered a SWAT team to assist the officers. The SWAT team arrived in the subway tunnel and tried to catch James. During the chaos, James let go of Yoon-ju but managed to escape and ran further into the tunnels. The chase continued, and James eventually found himself stuck between the advancing SWAT team and Chief Wong, who had managed to get to the tunnel despite his injuries. James decided to charge at Chief Wong, who was standing near an oncoming train. Chief Wong took the risk and shot at James, even though there was a 50-50 chance that the train would run over him. Luckily, the train goes a different way, and Chief Wong shoots James with his gun, killing him right away. After that, Wong decides not to quit his job. Eventually, the police officers in their uniform go to Squirrel's funeral. At the end of the movie, Chief Wong and Yoon-ju work together to complete more tasks, like chasing down a terrorist who was working with James.